Revenge with Karen.
By the time my third Red Bull fizzed over my keyboard, I knew April was going to eat me alive. The servers were already wheezing from pre-deadline traffic. The IRS had just pushed another stealth update to the 1099 pipeline, and I was patching legacy code that hadn't been touched since the Obama administration. My left eye twitched. My right hand hovered over a line of logic so fragile, one misplaced semicolon could tank filings from here to Kansas. And not a soul in that damn building had a clue. That's the thing about being the invisible backbone. You get real good at saving lives quietly while everyone else is busy clapping for Kyle's new TikTok, where he reinvents tax season in a leather jacket. I'm not exaggerating. The man wore a leather jacket to a product launch, called himself a disruptor. I nearly choked on a cough drop. For 8 years, kept Ledger Sync's entire tax system upright with duct tape, dead languages, and divine rage. I built redundancy into places no one asked for and patched third-party APIs with bedtime prayers. But nobody noticed. Nobody asked. Not until the partner, our founder, Gregory Langston, a man who once thanked me with an Arby's gift card for holding back the digital floodgates, announced his retirement. That's when the tide shifted. Enter Kyle Langston, 28, MBA from somewhere with a drone-shot campus. Hair always styled like he just walked out of a car commercial. Wore no socks with his loafers. Said words like synergy and emotional architecture without flinching. Called himself a strategic visionary. I called him a golden retriever with a LinkedIn addiction. His first day, Kyle strolled into the server room, took one look at the humming racks and said, "Whoa, so this is where the magic happens." He tried to fist bump me. I just blinked. He named his internal comms initiative operations Smile Stack. Said we were too code-heavy and not human-facing enough. He wanted warmth. He wanted relatability. He wanted brand cohesion. What he got was a tax firm quietly held together by a 41-year-old woman with a caffeine tremor, no filter, and exactly one pair of work slacks. What he didn't want, me. Now, I'm not saying I'm irreplaceable. I've trained squirrels to debug better than Brian from marketing. But there's a reason no one touched the load balancer scripts. A reason the auto-scaling microservices ran silent and deep. A reason Barbara Langford stayed 2 monitor setups away from every PR stunt, smiling exactly never. But you know what does make me smile? When 95% of you listen to stories like this without subscribing. Yeah, I see you. Do us a solid. Hit that little button. Like this if you've ever had to smile through workplace stupidity. Trust me, it helps more than you think, and it keeps this strange little storytelling circus alive. Anyway, after Kyle's arrival, meetings stopped being meetings. They became culture syncs. Every Monday morning was a fireside alignment, which is corporate for turn on your camera, so we can all pretend to like each other. Kyle led them with the same energy as a failed improv coach. People laughed too hard, agreed too fast, nodded like bobbleheads on a dashboard from hell. Me, I kept my camera off. Always my reason, connection issues, the truth. I didn't want to see his face while he slowly dismantled everything I'd built, and yet somehow I kept showing up. Day after day, patch after patch. Watching him smile while the heartbeat of our infrastructure got more and more erratic. He couldn't see it. No one could. But I felt it in the server logs, in the quiet seconds between system pings, in the milliseconds of delay that shouldn't have been there. I started saving the warnings, clipping them like newspaper headlines, not because I planned anything, just insurance, just in case. The system was humming, but it was humming wrong. The first Smile Stack fireside launched on a Monday at 9 a.m. sharp. Kyle showed up in a pastel hoodie, perched on a beanbag, and opened with "Good morning. Ledger fam, let's radiate some warmth today." I nearly radiated my coffee through my nose. He was dead serious. Every department head had to give a 30-second gratitude shout-out. Someone from marketing said they were thankful for oat milk in the break room. Legal thanked whoever finally refilled the office trail mix. Then Kyle called on me. "Barbara, haven't heard from our code wizard yet. Wanna tell us what you're grateful for?" I stared at the request on my screen. No mic, no camera. Just the pulsating blue unmute button waiting, my gratitude, that the server queue hadn't exploded during last week's security patch, that the dev server hadn't hit memory limits again, that I hadn't burst into flames listening to this weekly charade. I typed, "Still resolving a legacy timeout issue. We'll circle back." Kyle read it out loud, chuckled. "Our resident mystery. We'll warm you up eventually, Langford." The next day, HR pinged me with a calendar invite titled Optional Image Coaching Session. Attached was a PDF called Powerful Softness, bringing emotion into the digital workplace. I scrolled through pages of stock photos, smiling accountants, laughing teams around laptops, someone hugging a spreadsheet. I closed it and declined the meeting. 10 minutes later, HR messaged again. Hi, Barbara. Leadership feels it's important to present a more approachable front. I'll mention your camera is frequently off, and you rarely engage verbally during firesides. Could we talk? No, we could not talk. Instead, I opened my Notepad app and typed, May 3 HR request for image coaching. First direct pressure to perform warmth. I timestamped it, saved it. That was the start. At the next fireside, Kyle cracked a joke during a product update. We're not robots. Well, most of us. He looked dead at the camera, grinning. Brady Bunch Square's on-screen laughed. Brian from marketing snorted orange soda. My box remained blank. May 10 robot joke, public jab. Brian snorted. My notes grew longer each week. Nothing dramatic, just little chips at the rock. One fun jab here, one friendly suggestion there. But it added up. People started tagging me in group chats asking if I was okay. One even offered me a vibe crystal, responded with a link to a server optimization article and a thumbs-up emoji. The messages stopped. They never cared when I saved the April 15 servers from melting down under 3 million concurrent users. Never asked how the self-healing DNS patch worked. Never once questioned how our gateway delay dropped by 12% last year, except Kyle, who asked if it could be rebranded as Latency Light. May 17 rebrand request for latency reduction. Said it sounds more user-friendly. User-friendly, like my face, apparently. At this point, the infrastructure stack was humming smoother than it had in years, thanks to quiet midnight patches and a few undocumented backdoors I'd slipped in for maintenance. Kyle didn't know about any of it. He only saw his vision board and the mirror. And every time I failed to perform joy, I was marked. The real kicker came during a Q2 all hands. Kyle showed off a new Ledger Sync marketing video, all slow pans and animated graphs. Then came the team collage, smiling faces, thumbs up, laughter. My box was grayed out, my name at the bottom. Kyle paused. See that? That's what we're changing. No more grayed out ghosts. We need warmth, not robotic code monkeys. Everyone laughed again, even Susan from payroll. I didn't blame them. It's easier to laugh when someone else is the punchline. Safer, too. June 1 robotic code monkey. Direct quote. Laughter logged. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed in the server room, lights dimmed, noise-canceling headphones on, reviewing the fallback triggers in the heartbeat manager. Not for revenge, not yet, just clarity. I traced through the protocol Kyle would never touch, buried under 6 layers of ignored documentation. Then I opened my notes. At the top, I typed a new line. If they don't want a ghost, shouldn't build on haunted code. It was a Thursday. I remember because the coffee tasted like wet drywall and someone in IT was blasting Eye of the Tiger through the shared Bluetooth speaker again. I had just finished reviewing logs from the autoscaler. Load variance was holding steady, but one heartbeat node in the Atlanta zone was blinking slower than it should have been, like a warning from a tired ghost. Then the calendar pinged. Subject, quick sync with Kyle 10 Min's location. Executive Suite 3 attendees. Kyle Langston, Barbara Langford, no agenda. No prep notes. No one from HR, just me and Kyle. I walked in already knowing. Kyle sat at the table, his laptop open but ignored, fingers steepled like he was preparing for a TED talk. Behind him, a whiteboard read, Authenticity plus innovation equals loyalty in red expo marker, underlined 3 times. Hey, Barbara, he said too brightly. Take a seat. I didn't. He cleared his throat. So, we've been evaluating how to best position Ledger Sync for its next phase. With the app launch and our upcoming funding round, we're pivoting toward a more relational tech ethos. I blinked. You're firing me. He winced like I'd farted at a baptism. No, I wouldn't use that word. Think of this more as recalibrating roles. We're moving in a new direction. Which direction would that be? I asked. Away from working infrastructure. He laughed a little too loud. You always were a straight shooter. Look, it's not about your performance. It's your brand, your energy. We need leaders who inspire. I stared at him. I write critical back-end logic, not Instagram captions. Exactly, he said, like I'd proven his point. And we've got a great opportunity for you to land softly. 2 weeks of paid transition, plus a severance. Tapped the folder on the table like he was offering me a birthday card. I didn't touch it. Transition what? I asked. The system, he said, your processes, workflows, all that back-end brilliance. We'd love for you to hand that off before you go. To whom? Kyle beamed. Brian, you know Brian, he's been killing it in marketing. Just wrapped up his master's in digital marketing with a blockchain elective. I stared at him for a full 10 seconds, letting the idiocy simmer. Brian repeated. He nodded like a golden retriever who'd learned to high-five. I leaned forward. You want me to transfer back-end operational knowledge, emergency protocols, heartbeat management, cloud-side redundancy handling, and the entire self-healing core stack to Brian, who once asked me if Node.js was a Marvel character. Kyle's smile twitched. He's a fast learner. Then he can learn the hard way. He blinked. Excuse me, I decline, I said. I won't be training Brian. I won't be transitioning anything. He puffed up like a frat bro with a mic. Barbara, don't make this difficult. You already did, I said, when you decided the smile on your LinkedIn mattered more than the woman keeping your code from collapsing. The room went quiet. Then he picked up the folder and slid it back across the table. In that case, he said, voice now flat, we're going to go ahead and make this effective immediately. No thank you. No goodbye. Just click like hanging up on a call. A clean cut. Easier that way, I suppose. I stood there a moment longer, letting the silence settle. No panic, no protest, just stillness, like when the last echo in a canyon fades and the air forgets it ever carried sound. Then I walked out, past his receptionist who avoided eye contact, past the cheerful poster on the wall that said teamwork is our superpower, down the corridor that still smelled faintly of burnt popcorn and betrayal. I didn't pack my desk. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't so much as log out. Because what Kyle never understood, what none of them understood, was that I had already offloaded everything that mattered. Not onto Brian, not onto their shiny new cloud dashboard, but onto a system designed with one unspoken assumption. Someday, they'd be this stupid. The house was silent when I stepped inside, just the low hum of the fridge and the faint crackle of my joints as I kicked off my boots. No farewell cake, no awkward hugs, no branded stress ball in a farewell baggie, just termination papers and a folder of lies. I didn't bother turning on the lights. I walked straight to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of something strong, then sat at the old oak table where I'd debugged half their infrastructure on nights Kyle was busy filming slow-motion coffee pours for LinkedIn. And I opened my private laptop, not the work-issued one they were probably wiping as we spoke. No, this one was mine. Black sticker over the camera. Password long enough to make Fort Knox weep. It booted into a terminal before the OS had time to breathe. I pulled up the logs, not their logs. Mine. The shadow mirror I'd kept sinking through an encrypted relay, tucked so deep in the stack you'd have to lose your job, your sanity, and your pride to even know where to look, which conveniently I had. The heartbeat was weakening. I stared at the timestamp. Atlanta zone, slow to ping. West Coast node, 3 ms variance outside tolerance. Beacon Delta wasn't just drifting, it was limping, like a dying animal crawling behind a bush so no one would see it die. I leaned back, swirling the ice in my glass, and let the memory come. 2 years ago, we'd pushed a core update to the queue scheduler. Bad call. Logic clashed with the IRS delay buffer. And for 3 hours, our returns started time looping, duplicates, triplicates. Some clients showing refunds for 2023 and 1927. It was almost biblical. That night, I stayed until sunrise. Coffee, code, chaos. No one else touched the back end. I built a patch, but I didn't just fix it. I buried a failsafe inside it. Something elegant, something quiet. A self-healing ghost protocol. Monitored the heartbeat delay between 3 anchor servers and cross-checked their pulse. If latency exceeded 1.5 seconds on all 3 in a 60-second window, it tripped a rollback and spun up a shadow environment. Seamless failover. Undocumented. Mine. Only one problem. If it failed to trip correctly, if the latency climbed too fast, or the triggers got bypassed by a clueless intern playing traffic cop, the buffer would clog like a blocked artery. 30 minutes. That's all it would take. 30 minutes before system-wide lockout. 30 minutes before 3 million users trying to file last-minute taxes hit a digital wall, all because Kyle wanted latency light branding and Brian thought AWS regions were coffee sizes. And now, I watched the variance chart blink amber. It wasn't panic. It wasn't fear. It was certainty. The kind that doesn't scream or flinch. The kind that just waits, because I knew exactly what came next. The cracks would start small, an alert here, a delay there. Someone would blame bandwidth or browser extensions. A dev would get blamed. A contractor would get scapegoated. And the failsafe, it would try to do its job. It would want to save them. but without me manually initiating the rollback trigger, it would stall, hang in limbo. Just like the meeting where Kyle told me I was too robotic. Ironic, really. Fired the one person who knew how to whisper to ghosts. I closed the laptop. Outside, the streetlights buzzed to life. A dog barked in the distance. The glass in my hand sweated against my palm like it knew something. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel pity. I just felt the clock ticking. Saturday morning. I was eating reheated pizza in my bathrobe, one sock on, laptop balanced against a lukewarm coffee mug, when the Ledger Sync live stream went up. Quarterly Innovation Broadcast, it was called. Subtitle, Pioneering the Future of Finance. I almost choked on pepperoni. There they were. Kyle and Brian, side by side, bathed in ring light glow, sitting on a fake leather couch in front of a green screen that showed an animated rocket launching from a pile of W-2 forms. The comments were turned off. Smart. Kyle kicked things off with a toothy grin and a "What's up, Ledger fam?" that made my ears bleed. Today, said, pointing directly at the camera like a budget Tony Robbins, we're unveiling the future. A next-gen tax platform. Seamless, scalable, sexy. Brian nodded too hard beside him. Powered by blockchain logic stacks, AI-generated audit foresight, and emotional UX architecture. I had to pause the stream just to scream into a pillow. When I resumed, they were flipping through a slide deck made entirely of stock images and buzzwords. No architecture maps. No database diagrams. Just a photo of someone skydiving next to the words, "Leap into simplicity." Then it happened. Behind Brian in the corner of the screen, barely visible above his shoulder, I saw it. A flicker. A small red banner, terminal window. Timeout exceeded beacon delta at root. It blinked for 3 full seconds before disappearing behind a pop-up ad for their mobile app. Brian didn't notice. Kyle didn't blink. They kept smiling, kept talking. I didn't. I rewound, froze the frame, zoomed in. Timeout exceeded. That meant latency at node 3 had passed the 2.1 second threshold. The heartbeat variance had officially hit phase 1, and they were laughing. Folks, Kyle said, holding up a prop iPad, our platform is so intuitive, even my dad figured out how to file on it. That got a laugh from the crew off camera. One of those fake, too loud sitcom chuckles. Kyle beamed. Brian clapped his hands like a toddler who just found the cookie jar. Meanwhile, in the Slack channels I still had ghost access to, don't ask how, I watched the quiet panic begin. A junior backend dev posted, "Anyone else seeing DNS loopbacks? Or is my VPN borked?" No reply. 10 minutes later, load Bally TLQ is holding 40K plus in pending. Is this normal? Brian replied with a thumbs up emoji. Came an email from an engineer I'd worked with years ago, a guy named Malik. Subject line, weird beacon lag, your thoughts? I didn't open it. Instead, I alt-tabbed to the heartbeat logs. Node 1, 1.6 is node 2, 1.9's node 3, 2.1's not fatal. Not yet, but close enough to smell the smoke curling under the server room door. The stream ended with a slow-motion clip of Kyle clapping while confetti fell. Ryan yelled something about democratizing tax wisdom. Then they hugged. I shut the tab. Back in the Slack mirror, a lone message stood unread. Anyone know what fail state at pulse 0 means? Found it in the rollback handler. Can't find the doc, I could have answered. I could have told them it means the failsafe's about to stall. That the ghost is trying to kick, but there's no one left to breathe life into it. Instead, I rechecked the clock. Server load climbing. Delay variance trending up. User logins spiking as the pre-deadline weekend rush kicked in. I took another bite of pizza. Funny thing about ghosts, they don't scream, they don't beg, they just wait, silent, watchful, patient, like me, and the ghost I left behind, it was almost awake. Sunday night, 11:42 p.m., EST, the quiet hours before the storm. Most folks were tucking in, dreaming about deductions and direct deposits. But over at Ledger Sync, cracks were beginning to hiss like steam through a pinhole in a pressure pipe. It started with the phone lines. Hi, the system says return incomplete after I click submit. Did I do something wrong? Support scripts weren't built for this. The reps fumbled through Tier 1 flowcharts. Clear cache. Try Chrome. Log out. Log back in. If that didn't work, escalate. By midnight, escalation tickets were piling up like abandoned carts at a closing Walmart. The problem wasn't just isolated to one browser, one form, one user. It was systemic, random, global, and getting worse by the hour. Inside the call center Slack thread, the mood shifted from confused to chaotic. One rep posted, seeing 17 cases in the last hour, all return incomplete. Anyone know what beacon fail is? No reply. Then Kyle entered the chat. Literally. At 12:27 a.m., joined the #support triage channel with the confidence of a man who'd once said he could optimize latency with enthusiasm. Hey everyone, just checking in. Sounds like AWS is being twitchy tonight. Let's try rebooting the EC2 fleet and flushing the Redis cache. That usually clears the hiccups. Someone heart reacted his message. Probably Brian. And just like that, the spotlight swung away from the real issue. No one looked at the core logic. No one dared open the heartbeat manager. They flushed the front-end cache like it was a magic spell. Restarted the fleet. Wiped the CDN. Said a prayer. Still, the error persisted. Meanwhile, somewhere out there, a junior engineer named Throwaway Dev 928 opened Reddit and wrote, "Serious help PLS. Backend at my company throwing beacon fail at root in logs. What is this? Can't find any documentation and our senior dev got laid off 2 weeks ago. Deadline traffic's insane. CEO says it's AWS. I don't think it is. Anyone know what this means?" 3 hours later, the thread was full of guesses. Caching error, malformed cron, bad dependency tree, nobody got close. One user replied, "Beacon fail? That sounds custom. Homebrew logic. If your senior dev's gone, you're probably screwed. Good luck." I upvoted it. At 1:30 a.m., internal dashboards at Ledger Sync started blinking orange. Login queues were bloating. Submission times doubled. Error reports tripled. One dev posted a screenshot of a JSON dump with a subject line, "This isn't normal, right?" It wasn't. But Kyle was too busy on Twitter posting a selfie in front of a whiteboard. Late-night innovation never sleeps. Prepping for a record filing day. #hustle culture, #tax tech #grindset. His phone was probably vibrating itself off the desk. But his teeth were still showing in that grin, like nothing could touch him. Then came the DM, "Malik D, tell me you're watching this." I didn't type right away. I just sat there, fingers hovering over the keys, watching Beacon Delta pulse like a dying star. Then I replied, 30 minutes, that's all, because Malik knew what I meant. He'd been there when the Ghost protocol was born. He knew the heartbeat wasn't just code, it was a fuse, and now it was hissing, burning down, pulling everything toward the edge. Back on Slack, Brian was suggesting they try rolling back the CSS framework. Someone else was blaming daylight saving time for timestamp errors. Kyle, ever the innovator, posted, "Can we use ChatGPT to fix this?" I closed the window, not in anger, not even disbelief, just focus, because the system was entering phase 2. Beacon fail wasn't just an alert, it was the sound of the ground cracking beneath their feet. April 15, noon Eastern. The battlefield was digital, but the bloodbath was very, very real. 3 million users, give or take 100,000 impatient freelancers, married joint filers, gig workers with a crypto side hustle, and at least one divorced dentist in Des Moines panicking about backdated write-offs. They were all clicking submit. Right. Now. And Ledger Sync was wheezing like a fat man in a sauna. First came the lag. Innocent, deceptive. A little spinning wheel here, a brief please wait banner there. Then the queue stopped moving. Backend servers hit 93% load across all zones. Memory spikes. Latency spread like a rash. Beacon Delta blinked red. The Ghost was fully awake now. It tried, God bless it, to engage the fallback spooler. But the manual reset hadn't been triggered. The signal bounced like a rubber bullet off an empty room, and the return errors began. First in drips, then in buckets. Error code 450, return incomplete, try again later. Error code 500, gateway timeout. Error code 702, file not found, beacon protocol undefined. Twitter noticed, clients noticed. CNBC noticed. Screenshots flooded in from every corner of the country. Moms in Ohio, tech bros in Austin, grandpas in Vermont, all with the same caption. What the hell is Ledger Sync doing? Inside the office, chaos bloomed. Kyle stood in the center of the operations floor, yelling into his iPhone like volume could solve code. His hair, usually slicked back like a toothpaste commercial, was now flopping forward in sweaty clumps. He shouted for the CTO, then for Brian, then for anyone who knows what beacon root is. No one answered. The IT lead tried to explain the traffic thresholds. I told him to shut up and just reboot the whole cluster. When that failed, he unplugged a monitor and screamed at an intern to roll back the logs. That's when it happened, the Slack leak. Screenshots surfaced on Twitter from inside Ledger Sync's #incident response channel. One, in all caps, read, "Who disabled redundancy?" Another, seconds later, who even built this thing? And then, like divine punctuation, where the hell is Rebecca Langford? They were hunting ghosts now. A dev named Jordan tried to override the beacon fail triggers. He typed furiously, then stopped cold. Command denied, manual reset required. He messaged Kyle, we can't roll back the failsafe. It's locked behind an admin key we don't have access to. Kyle's reply was a single skull emoji. The press started calling. Class action lawyers were sniffing blood. Users were demanding copies of their incomplete returns. Tax advisors were melting down. Ryan tried to run a live apology video, but the feed crashed mid-sentence. The comment section was a riot. Kyle retreated to his office. There, in his glass fishbowl, he called my number twice. I watched the call pop up on my screen as I ate cereal from the box in my pajamas. Then Slack lit up again. Malik messaged, they're trying to break beacon root manually. They just ran a brute force script. I replied, it won't work. It's heartbeat gated. Sent one final message, they're offering money now. Kyle's desperate, you should see his face. But I didn't need to, because I already knew that expression. It wasn't fear, it was realization. The exact moment someone understands they've built their empire on a fault line. And now the quake had come. By 12:43 p.m., the first call came in, unknown number, straight to voicemail. Then a text from HR, hi Barbara, hope you're well. Quick question about beacon fail? Just wondering if you could hop on a call real quick. I didn't answer. My phone buzzed again. This time it was the CIO, Mark. We hadn't spoken in months. He used to compliment my stoic efficiency right before siding with Kyle on every idiotic redesign he proposed. His message was brief. Need urgent clarification beacon protocol. Critical failure cascade in progress. Please call ASAP. Muted my phone and took another sip of chamomile tea. They still didn't get it. This wasn't a bug, it was a boundary. The kind you build after 8 years of being invisible, laughed at, coached for not smiling. The kind that only activates when every single thread of patience has been incinerated. At 1:02 p.m., Kyle himself called. I watched the screen light up. Kyle Langston, incoming call, I let it ring. Let it ring until it stopped. A minute later, left a voicemail. Barbara, hey. Look, I know things got tense, but we could really use your help right now. There's a failsafe running, beacon something, and we need to reset it. Please, where I'm asking, can we talk? Please call me back. His voice cracked near the end. I opened my encrypted terminal and typed one line, reset status, locked access, manual only, then I drafted my response. Just one line, it resets manually. Only I can do it. Didn't hit send yet. I leaned back, letting the silence settle. The chaos on their end must have been biblical, caffeine-stained interns trying to reverse engineer my logic, while Kyle wiped his face with the inside of his blazer. I could practically hear the desperation echoing off the glass walls of that innovation studio. They'd built a brand on words like seamless, intuitive, and human-centered, but they forgot the human part meant me. And I wasn't there anymore. My finger hovered over the trackpad. A small part of me, a voice I'd silenced for years, asked if maybe I should show mercy. Reboot the system. Save the users. Be the bigger person. Then I remembered the board meeting where Kyle laughed and said, nobody remembers who built the engine. They only care who's driving the car. Well, Kyle, your car's on fire. The last heartbeat marker in Beacon Delta crossed 3.3 seconds. System had now exceeded critical load for 27 minutes. Recovery was technically still possible, but not for long. I checked the logs one last time. Rollback trigger, pending failsafe timer, 000251 manual override. Disabled, I finally hit send on the message. It resets manually. Only I can do it. That was all they'd get from me. No bargaining, no apology. Just the truth they'd chosen to ignore. I set my phone down, opened the window to let in the spring air, and watched the clouds drift over the quiet street below. I didn't need to witness the collapse, because I'd already lived it. Now it was their turn. April 15th, 3:04 p.m. The first chyron hit CNBC like a funeral bell. Legisync faces record system, collapse on tax day, millions unable to file a suited anchor, squinting with theatrical concern. Read from the teleprompter. This afternoon, LedgerSync LLP, a major provider of tax filing software, experienced a catastrophic system failure impacting an estimated 3 million users. Filers across the country report critical submission errors, with widespread outages still ongoing. They cut to a blurry clip from inside the LedgerSync offices, Someone had leaked phone footage. Kyle Langston, collar soaked with sweat, barking into a headset, flanked by 2 paralegals and a visibly panicked PR rep. Then came the real kill shot, breaking. Legisync CEO Langston to step down amid growing backlash below it. A second banner scrolled. Class action lawsuit in development $125M in potential penalties. I muted the TV. Not out of satisfaction. Just stillness. The kind that settles into your bones after a war you didn't start, but damn sure finished. I opened my laptop, not the old one, not the ghost server mirror, but a brand new system. Sleek, clean, unburdened, on the screen, a dashboard glowing green. Uptime 100%, submissions climbing, error rate near 0. The logo in the corner was subtle. Soft tones, clean typography. The company name, not important. But the silent partner, that was me. 2 months ago, Kyle was ordering branded ring lights and recording authentic leadership reels. I'd taken a quiet meeting with an upstart competitor. They weren't flashy. No influencers. Just engineers who actually read the code. When they asked what I'd need to come on board, I said freedom and root access. They gave me both. Now, their platform was surging. New user signups were tripling by the hour. And their CTO, old dev friend of mine who once brought me ginger ale during an all-nighter, sent me a simple message. We just crossed 800K returns filed. No errors. Thank you. I didn't reply, didn't need to. My phone buzzed again, this time not a cry for help. A message from a former colleague. Amy, from QA. She'd always been decent. Too quiet to speak up during meetings. She'd bring me tea during reviews and slip post-its on my monitor that said things like, "You saved us again." Her message just said, "Why didn't you warn us?" I stared at the blinking cursor for a long while. The answer wasn't cruel. It was true, so I typed, because they didn't want me to smile. So I waited until I had a reason. Then I did smile. Not because Kyle fell, not because they begged, but because I remembered who I was. And I remembered that ghosts don't ask for permission. They haunt. And when they're done, they build something better. Appreciate you sticking around, you wise old rebels. Smash that subscribe button, or this fossil might just cause another epic fiasco.